It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
Six the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Thursday, and I swear I can see the weekend from here.
Today's show is sponsored by Universal Socks. They'll fit either foot. No more days of wearing two left socks.
Just so you know, this doesn't mean my computer problems are completely fixed, but I found some workarounds so I can get a few things going. See what I mean? Hesitating here. Is it going to play? Yeah. I clicked on it. It doesn't want to go. One more time. And that's what I'm talking about. Okay, I was about to play something else here, but then all of a sudden it just decided to freeze up. So, yeah, computer issues and a lot of the fun stuff can't go. So I have a secondary computer where I can go ahead and play what I'm about to play for you here. We pick on Kamala Harris and her word salads a lot. And she deserves everything she's getting on that. Yesterday I heard something that I had to go look up so you guys could hear this again. Now, realize some people want to vote for this. All right? Ready? Here we go.
I grew up understanding the children of the community are the children of the community.
Gosh, that was so deep. I sat there in tears after she said that. I mean, the children of the community are the children of the community. I have said this before. There are some, speaking of word salads, phrases that people put out there, and they don't mean anything. When Obama ran on hope and change and moving forward, I've explained that one. Hope for what? Change to what? Moving forward to where? Right, there's no explanation for that, but it's good generic stuff, right? There's a sign that I've seen around over the years that says, love is love. And I would love to turn to everybody who's posted that. First I saw it in Cheyenne, Wyoming, up in a window. It just said, love is love. Way up high up in the window, off Lincoln Way, Capitol and Lincoln Way. For those people there across from the Heinz building is where I saw that. And I'm looking at that thinking, I would like to find out who posted that. And I've seen that same saying in other places. And ask them, what do you mean by that? Because you cannot define a word by using the same word. To define a word, you have to use other words. So the example I came up with is snorkel whacking. See, I just made that up, snorkel whacking. What does snorkel whacking mean? Well, it means snorkel whacking. Yeah. Did you get an explanation? Do you know what I mean by it? You don't, do you? Because I use the same word to define the word. You got to use other words to define a word. So love is love doesn't mean anything. Neither does this.
I grew up understanding the children of the community are the children of the community.
That doesn't mean anything at all. So there you go, your word salad once again. And people are voting for, well, when she, or they will be voting for, in the past few interviews that she's done, whenever she's asked a question, she just talks about things like that. Well, I grew up in a middle-class family is one of her big ones. And she talks about the economy in general terms as well. And so we don't really know what her plans are for the economy other than these general terms that sound good, that make people feel good, but don't mean anything. There's no specifics for that. But, okay, some people think that that's a wonderful thing to vote for, just like hope and change and moving forward. More word salads by Kamala Harris. And as soon as I get more than that, I'll go ahead and play them for you. Because if anybody can define, when I just played that, what she meant by that, please let me know. Just like with the whole thing of love is love. You want to explain that to me. I'm willing to listen, but I'm going to make the argument to you that whatever you mean by that, you didn't get your message across. So the children of the community are the children of the community, which means, okay, moving on. Trust me, there will be more word salads between now and election time. Here's a story that I think says a lot about some of the problems economically that we have in America and where we can go to solve them. If you want to talk specifics, which I prefer to talk specifics when it comes to what are our problems and how do we solve them. Yesterday came across a story, headline here, Tupperware files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. I'll explain why in just a minute. First off, this means no more Tupperware parties. That doesn't mean Tupperware is necessarily going away, but they're having problems, and it could happen. Tupperware has been around since I was a kid. Remember their commercials? I remember hearing about Tupperware parties where people looked at Tupperware and tried to sell it. And basically, you have a party at your house, and you have a bunch of Tupperware, and you try to sell it to your friends. It was a way to make money on the side. That's one of the ways Tupperware got into the marketplace, is not just by going through retailers, but having people in neighborhoods sell to their neighbors. So why are they going into Chapter 11? After announcing closure of its last U.S. plant. Okay, that's part of the problem. So I'm going to look at the problems here, and unlike Kamala Harris, I'm going to look at a solution. Food container giant Tupperware brand has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy after announcing the closure of its last U.S. factory in favor of moving production to Mexico, the company said. Quote, Tupperware will seek court approval to continue operating during the proceedings and remain focused on providing its customers with its award-winning innovative products, et cetera, retail giant, and so on and so on. The company officials added they're seeking approval to facilitate the sale of the process in order to protect the iconic brand from further advancing Tupperware's transformation into a digital-first technology-led company. Whatever the hell that means. Tupperware brands, which took the U.S. by storm in the 1950s, with direct marketing, that's what I was talking about, getting around the retailers. One of the things that made Tupperware so cheap is people would sell it to their neighbors. A housewife would have a Tupperware party and sell it to her neighbors. She made some extra money. The method allowed housewives, the story says, to sell products in their home. Somewhere between $500 million and $1 billion in assets over the years is what they need. Well, is what they need to sell off in order to do this. So over the last several years, the story says the company's financial position has been severely impacted by challenging environments. As a result, the company said we explored numerous strategies. So they have to cut costs. And so one of the ways they want to do that is just move the company to Mexico. All right. So there's the problem, right? And I said I would like to find a way of solving problems like this rather than just saying it is what it is or talking in meaningless little platitudes like Kamala Harris is. So how would you solve that problem? Remember when Trump was running for office, he said he was going to bring manufacturing back to America. And people like Obama said, well, they're gone for good. How are you going to do that? Well, he did. He lowered taxes on corporations, okay, and it made it easier in general to do business in America with lower regulations, and that brought them back. And so that could bring Tupperware back, but also the steel industries, too. So let's see. Sister in Lake Wales says, no Tupperware. I sold that when I lived in Arizona. Really? My sister had Tupperware parties. My best party was men. They drank beer and bought lots. Wow. So my sister had Tupperware parties where dudes would show up to drink beer and buy Tupperware. I think, sister dear, they were probably just there to pick up chicks. I'm just going out on the limb there, all right? But that doesn't mean that they're not going. That doesn't mean they're going away. They're filing for bankruptcy, then moving manufacturing to Mexico to try to fix the problem by cheaper manufacturing, which can be done here in America. Let's see, Rhiannon Fort Danger. But Glenn, speaking of Kamala, she is a woman of color. Orange man, bad. Jones in Casper says, 16 discussing. Okay. By the way, Tupperware is worth big bucks. Yes. You know something, Jones? Classic Tupperware, believe it or not, classic Tupperware, if it's in good condition, you can make some money off of that. That's like retro stuff. And it still works. 616, wake up.
If it's it's on Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods from K2 Radio. Join the conversation at 888-97-WOODS.
I grew up understanding the children of the community are the children of the community.
It's so deep when she talks like that. I tried watching one of the interviews that she did. There was the, let me see, it's a group basically of reporters, and they're all like black reporters in America, and they interviewed Donald Trump, and they were really rude to him. And he called them out on stage in front of the audience. That was really rude because they started by being 35 minutes late, and in the first question, they just were obnoxious. And he called them out. They were very sweet to her and tossed her a bunch of softball questions, and when she gave nonsensical answers like that, well, they just let her get away with it. But still, though, I would just, for those of you out there, please go ahead and think hard, long, deep on what she's saying here.
I grew up understanding the children of the community are the children of the community.
Gosh, that's so deep. I'm so glad you. Okay, real quick. Oh, Dan and Cheyenne. Hey, Glenn, how did you know that a car is a car and a house is a house? Isn't that amazing? By the way, amazing is amazing, right? You see, exactly. Dan, you get it. I'm glad that you do. John and Gillette, progressives like salad, even word salads. You know, I hadn't thought about it that way, John. If you have a progressive over to your house, to be safe, don't serve steak, serve them a salad. They like salads. And then when you sit down over dinner to have a conversation with them, make sure to serve up a word salad. They'll love that. All right. Headline, San Francisco, police are dressing like giant chickens to issue traffic violations. Oh, cool. Story says, some might wonder why it takes so long to get a police response when you're in significant danger in the Bay Area. This author says, well, I think I found a way to make crime make sense. They're too busy being chickens. And I don't mean cowards, he says. I mean, literally, they're dressed like chickens. So it's like when you see the people walking around dressed up in those giant T-Rex outfits. Okay. So here are police officers dressed up in chicken outfits. They're inflatable. You can see the officer from like the waist up. The rest of it is like he's riding a chicken. Is basically the way that looks. And they're doing that to hand out traffic violations. I mean, things like pedestrians jaywalking, stuff like that. So, yeah, this is how, okay, I don't mind a little fun. In Cheyenne, Wyoming, they have around Christmas time, the Grinch. They go to some of the worst intersections in Cheyenne, and they put up on a cherry picker someone dressed in a Grinch outfit. And the Grinch is there to warn people as a police officer, hey, slow down. And they are handing out traffic citations at the same time. But he's dressed like the Grinch who stole Christmas. So San Francisco's finest are out in the streets dressed like giant chickens to entrap drivers that won't slow down at crosswalks and people who are jaywalking, stuff like that. And they're handing out tickets that are up to $400 a person, depending on what the crime is. Okay. In the meantime, though, just within sight of that police officer, there's homelessness going on. I wonder if they've seen drug use going on. And people using the sidewalk as a toilet. That's all going on right there. Officers guess that the exercise pulls in about 30 to 40 citations, which can be up to $60,000 each time they perform it. So it's good money for San Francisco that really the city wants the money. I mean, I'm all for pedestrian safety and stuff like that. And I like the idea of police officers having fun when they do stuff like this to make people laugh and to draw attention and do what's happening right now, to get news going. I mean, this is why they do stuff like that, to make news. So it raises awareness. At the same time, though, if that police officer in the chicken outfit, again, it's a giant blow-up outfit from the waist down, makes it look like he's riding a chicken. Let's say a real crime were to happen and he gets called to it. And he would have to go running down the street after the criminal in a giant chicken outfit. Fire Pit Paul says redundant. See, redundant. Yeah. That's basically what she did there. The children of the community are the children of the community. Gosh, I never thought about it that way. Next time I look at children, in the community, I would think, those are children in the community. Gosh. Yeah. And a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Is that the same thing? No, that's something that actually makes sense. It's okay. We'll work on it here. But, it is what it is. So I'm so glad we have somebody out there who is imparting philosophy to us that can change our lives. I think what Kamala needs to do is write a book of word salads. Can you imagine an entire book filled with Kamala Harris word salads? I might have to do that, come to think of it. Coming up on 6:30 local. No, the more I'm thinking about, the more I might have to do it. Coming up on 6:30 local news, coming your way after local news update on the weather forecast. You got to get back into it again. 888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97 WOODS. Wake Up Wyoming.
You asked for an expert. We didn't have the budget for that. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Weekdays 6 to 10 a.m. and 24/7 on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
6:36 the time. Wake Up Wyoming Thursday. I can see the weekend from here. I was going to move on to something else, but you guys are still having fun with the Kamala Harris word salad bit. For those who missed it, here we go again. If it wants to go ahead and play for me, hang on. Here we go.
I grew up understanding the children of the community are the children of the community.
Gosh, that's so deep. So, okay, as I talked about word salads, I said John in Gillette said that liberals like salads. So, yeah, and that's why I said if you invite someone over for dinner and they're a Democrat, serve salad, because they might be a vegan or something like that, so serve salad. But also, the conversation should be a word salad, and they really do like that kind of stuff. Now, I'm thinking about if I wrote a book of all Kamala Harris's word salads, to which Todd says that word salad book would be as thick as the Obamacare bill. Yes, the Obamacare bill became massive, especially after they passed the thing. So, all right. There is one here that I think actually kind of nails it. Let me see if I can get down to it. Let's see, house is in the house. Okay. Now, I hate it when someone says something that's really interesting and then all of a sudden the computer decides to update stuff and I got to go back and find it again. Here we go. Kamala is right when the children of the community are the children of the community and the community comes together for the children of the community are better off. And the other one I got was, well, basically the children of the community it's a socialist thing. It's a communist thing. They're not your kids. They're the community's kids. And we're all supposed to be raising the community's kids. And my answer to that is, I do think that if there's kids that live in your neighborhood, as an adult, you need to be a good example to those kids. But realize the kids do not belong to anybody else in the community. If those are your kids, they are your kids. See, that's when it actually makes sense to repeat it. They're your kids, nobody else's. They belong to you. They're not the government's kids. They're not the state's kids. That's why I like the idea of sending kids to charter schools or private schools or homeschooling rather than sending them to a government school because, well, when you send them to a government school, people in the government like to take over and decide what your kids should be learning, which would be different from what you think they're supposed to be learning, especially when it comes to values and so on. So the children of the community are the children of the community. In Kamala's idea, that might just mean that they're not necessarily your kids, they're the community's kids. That was the idea that I got with some of you sending me, though. But I like this from Badger and Cheyenne. Let me read that again. Glenn, Kamala is right, though, because when the children of the community are the children of the community, and the community comes together for the children of the community of the community are better off. Yeah, okay. Do you get a headache after a while when I do stuff like that? I kind of do. I really kind of do. But here, once again, this is where my main point with Harris, though, is when she goes, and you've seen this, when she goes to speak, it's avoiding questions, throwing out buzzwords, feel-good words as well. How do you want to fix the economy? Well, I mean, she wants an economy of opportunity. You know, if we have an economy of opportunity, you know, what is an economy of opportunity? How do you achieve that? What are you going to do to make an opportunity economy for people? She never answers that. She goes on to other little platitudes and et cetera. So with no answer to really anything, just word salads, you wonder how can she win? Because there's people who love stuff like that. That's why hope and change and moving forward won 2 elections for Obama. Because here again, it's a word salad. It doesn't mean anything. So you can attach your own meanings. Again, hope. What do you hope for? What you hope for and what somebody else hopes for can be 2 totally different things. But as long as he says hope, you both believe in hope, so you'll both vote for hope, even though you have different ideas of what hope is. Same thing when it comes to change. What you think of change, go down the road and somebody else thinks change is a completely different thing. So, but you both vote for it because you're both for change. Same thing when it comes to moving forward, and I do hear Harris say this a lot. We don't want to go back. Well, it depends. When we moved forward in her mind, move forward to where? Something better? It may not have been something better. Sometimes we move forward to a horrible place, and it would be better if we were back where we were before. But it sounds great to say you always want to move forward. It sounds like a positive thing, even though it doesn't actually mean anything. So I hate to say it, that's how many elections are won based on just empty phrases. What exactly do you mean by that? And I've had people even say, well, then what about make America great again? Which I would say, okay, fair enough. Trump, exactly what do you mean by that? But I think the difference is Trump will actually explain what he means by that. 642, Wake Up Wyoming.
Where Wyoming comes to talk. This is Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Be part of the show at 888-97-WOODS.
Time it's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to talk to Frank Gambino, who's over there in the ice box. Okay, Frank, there's always a big fight, a debate going on about in the restroom there facilities, which way the toilet paper hangs.
Oh, I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care either. I just give me toilet paper, whatever. I mean, I don't care if you just put it up on the back of the bowl, whatever, just give me toilet paper, I'm fine.
Yeah.
But for those people who get into the argument, I did see something which I thought, how would you and I who don't care remember if you're living with someone who does care? So here's the way.
Oh, boy. You're never going to win that battle.
No, you won't. But here's how this person did it. They drew a couple of little cartoons.
Oh.
And one, it shows the toilet paper hung over the front. And it says, beards are cool. Then there's the toilet paper hung over the back. Mullets are bad.
Ah.
See? So if you remember, beards are cool, mullets are bad. Providing, of course, what if you lived with someone who thought that mullets were cool?
Well, yeah, and beards were bad.
Yeah, so you'd have to go ahead and totally reverse the thing.
I think they just have 2.
Yes.
One way, one the other, and just call
that's a brilliant idea.
Call her good.
So for those people who argue about it, you put 2 rolls up there. And each way, okay, just make sure that they're the opposite and everybody's happy.
Yeah, you have to remodel your bathroom just to have two things.
That's fine. Yeah. I like that solution. For me, however, I just go ahead and take the roll and I stick it on there.
Yeah.
And we're done. Most of the time, the rolls just wind up lined up on the back of the toilet.
Right. Now, make sure that I read about this, that there's bamboo toilet paper for like $42 for like a 16-pack.
Wow.
Bamboo toilet.
Don't you get splinters?
I don't know. That's what I thought.
I was kind of wondering about that. Bamboo.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think I could. But then we go back to the days, and this always gets me when I see a cornhole tournament.
Yeah.
Because I think, we used to use corn.
I don't want to hear about this.
Yes, I don't. It's too early in the morning. People are having breakfast. Go with sports.
All right, high school volleyball tonight in Casper. The Toronto will host Evanston. Kelly Walsh will host Riverton. In the 4A standings, Laramie is 13-0. Kelly Walsh is 12-2. Cheyenne East 9-6. The Toronto 6-7. Cheyenne Central is 5-8, and Cheyenne South 2-13. All 5 of those teams will be in the Casper Invite at the Ford Center coming up on tomorrow and Saturday. Our latest YO Preps high school volleyball poll is out in 4A. Laramie still number 1. Kelly Walsh moves to 2. Thunder Basin moves down to 3. Green River 4 and Sheridan 5. Over in 3A, Douglas rated number 1 again, followed by Cody, Wheatland, Powell, and Mountain View. Bighorn leads the 2A ranks with Tongue River 2nd, Pine Bluffs 3rd, Wright 4th, and Sundance 5th. And in 1A, Little Snake River rated 1st, followed by Cokeville, Southeast, Riverside, and Encampment. Wyoming Cowboy football team needs some soul searching as they head into Saturday night's game against North Texas on the road. Cowboys had a multitude of issues they have to get straightened out after an 0-3 start, and they have not looked very good in the process. Better execution on offense at all positions tops the list, and the Cowboys really need to be Cowboy tough and hit people hard all game. North Texas come from the American Athletic Conference was boat raced by Texas Tech last week, 66-21. Tech scored 35 points in the second quarter. North Texas quarterback Chandler Morris threw 3 interceptions. The Mean Green have been beset by injuries like Wyoming has, and the Cowboys are 9-point underdogs, and a win would certainly appease the fan base, at least for now. 5 p.m. start from Denton. We'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KOWB in Laramie. In the NFL, the Denver Broncos have exhibited bad offensive play on their way to an 0-2 start. They'll be at Tampa Bay on Sunday. Broncos rookie quarterback Bo Nix was rated 31st out of 32 NFL starting quarterbacks because he's thrown 4 picks and no touchdown passes. So who knows how short his leash is. Broncos are 6.5-point underdogs. That's a big spread in the NFL, and game time on Sunday will be at 11 a.m. The state high school golf tournaments will be tomorrow and Saturday. The 4A tournament will be in Star Valley. 3A in Rawlins and 2A will be in Sheridan. The 4A high school regional tennis tournaments are upon us. The 4A North tournament in Casper will conclude today, and the 4A South will start in Green River tomorrow. The state high school tennis tournament will be in Gillette starting a week from today, and that's it in sports.
As usual, my sister brings up a really good point. She writes, at her household, they like mullets for the toilet paper roll, meaning it goes over the back. See, my sister has always lived with cats in the house, and you have a cat, Frank.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and you know what cats do with toilet paper.
Well, they destroy it.
So you hang it over the back. That way when they go, swiping on it, and they can't unroll it on you because it's in the back.
Right, so I never thought about that.
There's a strategy to that. It's a cat thing.
It's
really, that's the
let's snip that cat right there.
There you go. That's something I looked at and I thought the only reason I can see for putting it on a certain way is, do you have a pet that's going to come along and mess with it, and cats love for some reason to start swiping at that thing and getting it spinning? Then you walk in there and the whole roll is empty and it's all on the floor next to the toilet.
Here's the other thing too, is that what do hotels do with this?
And the hotels like to put those nice little folds in there too.
Yeah,
to show you.
It's over the.
I would have to start paying attention. You and I spend a lot of time checking into hotels,
and we never pay attention.
Not for the reasons you folks think. It's business, and so I'll start paying attention.
Okay, yeah.
All right, thank you, Frank. Yeah, it's a good idea. What do the professionals at hotels do? I have no idea. Coming up on some local business, we have to take care. We're going to roll into news time after that. National local update on the weather forecast. Hey, Natrona County, the gravel pit was killed. That's a big deal. It's Wake Up Wyoming. 7:06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Thursday, and I swear I can see the weekend from here. Hey, Cheyenne, Wyoming, I'll be there tonight for Thankful Thursday. Hope you join me for that. We have a couple of conversations going on right now. First, I'm going to get to the gravel pit that in Natrona County, a big victory for the residents up there. But also there's the toilet paper discussion going on. And I'll get to, let's just do the toilet paper thing real quick. So Someone had drawn a little piece of artwork showing 2 rolls of toilet paper, and it's the discussion, which way do you hang it, over or under? You know, it drops in the front or drops in the back. And one of the ways they said in their cartoon to remember it is beards are good, beard being drop it down in the front. Mullets are bad. It's drop down in the back, over or under, right? To which I thought, that's one easy way to remember it. But then my sister chimes in saying, well, she's more of a mullet person. They drop it down in the back, which I think makes sense because she has cats. If you have cats like to unroll those things. But if you drop it down in the back, they really can't. They can spin that sucker all day. They're not going to unroll it on you. Now, I had mentioned that I don't care forward or backwards, whatever. In fact, a lot of times I just line the rolls up in the back of the bowl and don't even put them on. To which my sister says, one thing I don't like is free to fall off the back of the toilet rolls, dirty hands touching the roll, and other wetting happens, which I can understand when Sister Dear there has a family. On the other hand, me, being by myself, I don't have to worry about that. I can just stack them up, and I'm the only one touching those things. So I'm perfectly fine with that. And, yeah, there's times I get lazy. I'm not even going to put it on the roll there. I'm just going to pile them up over here, and that's fine. Because it's my toilet. The question, though, is when you go to – this was Frank Gambino asked this. When you go to a hotel, which way do they put it on, the roll? And do different hotels do it differently? That's a good question. I now have a new life mission. I'll look into that. Okay, Natrona County. We've gotten into this controversy before, and I was asked to host a public meeting a while back, which I did, where there was a whole bunch of residents of this community that's up on Casper Mountain or right at the base of Casper Mountain, and there's a gravel company that wants to start mining for gravel right near where their neighborhood is. Now, to be fair to the gravel company, there are some other gravel pits near neighborhoods in Casper, Wyoming. And most of the residents don't know about it. But the way the gravel comes in and out and the way they keep the dust down, most people don't even know what's happening there. But this became a big deal, and I think a huge part of it was the road, the access road to where the gravel pit would be would go right really close to the neighborhood. And people didn't want big trucks going by, and they worried about some other things as well. To which the company that wants the gravel pit had tried to do everything they could to make it good, to make it less of a problem. All right, here's what just happened. And I heard this yesterday as I was getting off the air, but I'll bring it up today. Story says months of emotional back and forth over a controversial gravel pit proposal for state-owned land near the base of Casper Mountain ended with an explosion of relief and a standing ovation from opponents of the mine for Natrona County Commission, who essentially killed the project Tuesday night. Nearly 100 local residents turned out for the meeting and discussion by the commissioners on a conditional use permit for the gravel pit. Now, remember, those people who are opposed to the gravel pit were talking about that conditional use permit as maybe being a pathway to shut it down. Because up until now, it looked like this thing was going to get approved. Even though residents were fighting like mad, it looked like it was going to get approved anyway. But the commissioners voted 4-0 to amend a 2022 zoning resolution and eliminate any opportunity for mining for gravel in the zone around Casper Mountain. That's what Prism Logistics wants to do with the land there. Again, is mine for that. The vote means Prism cannot move forward, but they include in the story here, for now. Because if you think, well, good, it's over. Maybe. Commissioner Chairman Peter Nicholson said, did not vote, which went against the recommendation of the county's voting commission. Anyway, the county commissioner, Dave North, who made a motion to change the amendment, told the crowd he didn't know in 2022 and still doesn't know now how the designation for conditional use permit for mining ended up under a residential classification in the zoning resolution. He said there have been a lot of issues with zoning. He said, I have to be the first to tell you that. I have obviously no idea how we got into this. That's the truth. The fact is, I wasn't here until 18 months ago. So, okay, that's where they are right now. Casper Mountain resident Greg, is it Werger? I hope I pronounced that right, pointed out that for years mining was not allowed in that zone. The effort to amend the resolution, which required several steps in his part, was rejected by county planners 4-1. His amendment attempt brought months of concern and brought all to a head on Tuesday. All right, so again, this is where we are now on this. This has been very hard fought. Prism Logistics Manager Kyle True told commissioners early that amending the ordinance would be a taking of private property rights, especially from those who might have surface minerals. He reminded the commissioners that many residents at the meeting who live in the MR1 zone that finding aggregate gravel to meet the needs of the community is not easy. And that's something I do remember. I talked to Mr. True about that. And one of the things he said is, you want gravel for roads. It's got to be, for roads, you got to have a certain consistency. You can't just throw anything down there. It's got to be a certain type of material. And it's not always that easy to find. Even I've asked the question, can we just go get it from somewhere else? And I think the answer to that is yeah, but the further out you go, the more expensive it's going to get. Keep that in mind. And it's not always all that easy to find. So, again, this is killed for now, says the story. And keep that in mind because things like this always come back. This story was written up by a Cowboy State Daily, but this is something that could come back later on. We'll see. And it doesn't just affect, because I'm talking about the Casper community here, but around the state, this has been a problem. We've talked, while talking about this, about the one east of Cheyenne. There was a gravel pit going in right next to a neighborhood. And in that case, the neighborhood lost the fight, and the gravel pit is running. So it just depends on, where you are, what the conditions are. It's one of those things where we need the resource, but, and we have these conversations over and over again, I do think in this case that Mr. True did all they could with the company to try to help the homeowners out, including if something bad happened to their wells, they would pay for a new well that would go far deeper. I mean, anything they could think of to put the gravel pit in. One of the main sticky points is where that road was and went right by the neighborhood. Even though they weren't going to run that many trucks on it, said the company, people are still worried about kids and so on. It's a gravel road right behind the neighborhood and really close. I think that was one of the big sticky points. 7:15 is the time. Wake up, Wyoming.
This show contains sarcasm that some listeners may find disturbing. A sense of humor is advised. Chat with Glenn live on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
7:20 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. So yesterday we had Secretary of State Chuck Ray on a completely different issue. This morning we're going to have him on because he didn't get a chance to finish what he wanted to talk about yesterday. So, Chuck, you wanted to talk about Citizens Vote Week. What is that?
Well, we all know that this Biden-Harris illegal immigration is out of control. And one of the many threats that it poses is the fact that non-citizens potentially registering to vote. And we know that that's illegal, but just like illegal immigration is illegal. But the question is whether there's enforcement and whether there's front-end measures to make sure that that doesn't happen. So as part of U.S. Constitution Week, they also are running Only Citizens Vote Week to highlight the problem of illegal immigration, the problem this poses around our electoral system, and the front-end election integrity measures that we really need to fix this issue. And the real fix is to, in the registration process, require proof of citizenship for registering to vote. And that would be a pretty simple fix. It's part of what I was proposing in a rule package last year that Gordon vetoed. And it's also what President Trump and the House Republicans in the Capitol are working on with the SAVE Act. That's what they're trying to attach to this continuing resolution so that we can fix this issue and ensure that only citizens are voting in U.S. elections, which is the way that it should be.
Doesn't Wyoming have something where you at least have to be a Wyoming resident to vote in Wyoming?
Well, Wyoming state law says that you need to be, quote unquote, a bona fide resident of the state in order to register to vote. Now, you look up bona fide in the legal dictionary, it means genuine. Other than that, there's no guidance on what bona fide means, and there's no front-end proof of residency or citizenship when you register to vote. The only thing in the Secretary of State's rules regarding the registration process, which has always been where the registration process is laid out, is proof of identity. And that's what I was trying to fix last year, is require that proof of residency in order to register to vote, and a Wyoming driver's license would have been sufficient. And also to ensure that non-resident designations on licenses, which is what illegal aliens have in jurisdictions that issue them, would not be allowed to register to vote. And that's what Gordon vetoed. And as far as I'm concerned, I mean, Gordon is complicit with this Biden-Harris Mayorkas attempt to affect our elections by having illegal aliens vote. I mean, federal agencies are even distributing the voter registration forms to illegal aliens in states that have motor voter. Now, luckily, we have an NVRA exemption, so we don't have that issue where you've got motor voter and those forms are being distributed in that way necessarily. But he's also signed an executive order, Biden has, encouraging federal agencies to get involved with the voter registration process. So that poses other threats in terms of the federal agency interaction with the registration process.
Okay. So I do know in some states, people can go ahead and sneak across our border, go to those states or cities, and they can go ahead after being there for a little while. You know, so they're considered residents. Hey, they're paying electric bills or whatever the case is. However it works in that city, and they go ahead and get a driver's license, which already puts them on the rolls to vote. But what if they decided then to move to the state of Wyoming and they have a driver's license from somewhere else?
That's part of why we needed this rulemaking that I issued last year that Gordon vetoed, that said that a non-resident designation on a license, which is what illegal aliens receive oftentimes, that those would be automatically removed from qualifying to register to vote, because that's how you know in the front end process. So the question here is why is Gordon vetoing these things? He has a list of excuses in his veto letter. One of them is that this rulemaking is not allowed under Wyoming law, when actually it's the opposite. Not only is proof of residency and proof of citizenship allowed under Wyoming law, it's actually required, because Wyoming law says that the clerks, in concert with our policies, are supposed to verify the information on the voter registration form. And the voter registration form includes an attestation that you are a resident of the state and also a qualified elector, meaning that you're a U.S. citizen. Now, an attestation is just a promise. It's just your signature on a piece of paper. You have to have those front-end measures for enforcement and for protecting the vote on that front end. Right. So that's what the ultimate reform to fix this issue, that's what it is.
Okay, now residency in any state really is a pretty easy thing to do. If I'm there for a little while and I've paid a few bills, then I can just bring that. Look, here's my electric bill. Boom, I'm a resident.
Well, that's another nuance to the issue, Glenn, is that our statute, again, as talked about earlier, says that you need to be a quote-unquote bona fide resident, but it doesn't define what that is and what the durational length of how long that is, what that would be. Our Constitution said that you needed to live here a year in order to qualify to register to vote. That was struck down in a series of Supreme Court decisions in the 1970s. And what has sort of filled the gap in most other states is they've passed what are called durational residency laws, which specify a certain period of time that somebody needs to live in the state in order to qualify to register to vote. And what the Supreme Court has allowed is 30-day residency requirements. Now, I'd like it stronger than that, but that's the most that the courts have allowed. And we have nothing. I mean, right now, you could be here 10 seconds, claim that you're a bona fide resident, And as long as you don't double vote, it would be very difficult to prosecute. So we brought that durational residency statute to also put that length of period of time into state law, and that unfortunately failed as well. But we're going to keep working on it. I'm very hopeful about the 25 general session with the new energy in this legislature, fixing that durational residency issue in state law, also providing that front-end process of proof of residency and proof of citizenship for registering to vote, because only U.S. citizens and only Wyomingites should be voting in Wyoming elections, period. And the media and this insider governor that we have that has just totally flied in the face of our values as Wyomingites. We have to continue exposing the truth about that and continue working the issue. I've learned that over my time in this public sphere, that we just keep working the issue, just like on voter ID, and get it to the finish line.
Can people still, and I think they can, show up and register to vote the day of, like on election day?
Well, yes, and that's part of how we received an exemption to the NVRA, the National Voter Registration Act, which would have subjected us to the motor voter provisions that we're exempt from. The sort of trade-off was those 6 states that received that NVRA exemption, which is very important because the NVRA has a lot of provisions that are problematic, including that motor voter provision. The way that we received that exemption was because we have that same-day registration. Now, that doesn't allow individuals to switch parties. That was changed, and that's okay under the NVRA. But, yes, we have that same-day registration, and that was pivotal to us receiving that NVRA exemption, and that's why that's there.
All right. Secretary of State Chuck Gray, thanks for coming on this morning and explaining all that. Appreciate your time.
All right. Thanks, Glenn.
All right, coming up on some local business we got to take care of. That's news time. After news, update on the weather forecast. Then call in today weather because windy yesterday. I mean, really windy yesterday. This weekend, though, as we get into Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's going to be nice. First day of fall is Sunday, and it's going to feel like it, too. Let's Wake Up Wyoming.
Watzel. This program is intended for immature audiences only. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Weekdays at 6 on air, on Alexa, and 24/7 on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
7:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Okay, we'll have day weather on 7:45 to talk about your weekend. I know it's only Thursday, but still, let's look into that. And it is fall. The first day of fall is Sunday. And it really is going to feel like that. I think if I remember right, the temperature's kind of cool today, bop up just a little bit tomorrow, but then drop down quite a bit for Saturday and Sunday with maybe that slight chance of rain coming in, which is what we'll talk about. Now, that slight chance of rain would be a good thing. It was nice the other day when some rain moved across the state, and I was not overly optimistic, but had some hope for some fires across Wyoming that got some much-needed rain. And it's not just wet on the fire. Some of these fires, it's timber. It's not all grass out there. And the timber fires, you can imagine, are so big, so hot, a passing thunderstorm or two is not going to put it out. But if it wets the ground around the fire enough, then it can help prevent it spreading for a while so firefighters can get an advantage on that. So the problem was after that nice rain showers moved across the state of Wyoming, then came this horrific wind up to 50 miles an hour. And so now we got problems again. So from Oil City News, the short draw fire spanning northern Campbell County into Montana is reaching complete containment again. Now some of these fires they've had contained, and then like the one that shut down Togety Pass, that one had reached almost containment, then they lost ground and back and forth. Currently, 74% containment for short draw crews are aiming to have the fire completely contained by Friday, they hope. Fire lines currently securing most of the perimeter of the burn, and mop-up work is being conducted to ensure no new flare-ups on that spot. So that one's looking pretty good. The problem they were having is winds. Winds can be a good thing if it blows the fire back onto areas that's already burned. That could be a good thing. We won't have much in the way of winds the next few days. And when I get day weather on here, might actually have some rain coming on Saturday. We'll see. Story says combination of strong winds and rain also playing a role in the behavior. Winds gusting up to 45 miles an hour in that area stuck around all through Thursday. But another round of rain should help the situation. The story also says winds also kicked up a significant amount of dust and ash in the Campbell County area on Tuesday, leading several false reports of fire in the area. So they're saying, please do your best to verify that is a fire. Yeah, I know, where there's smoke, there's fire, but sometimes not necessarily. It's just stuff being blown around. And it looks like a fire, but it's just old ash that's not lit being burned around. That's in prairie areas especially. All right, so the story goes on to say one news start did come out of false alarms Tuesday, now named the Livingston Draw Fire, which is splitting the county line between Campbell and Johnson County. So multiple crews responding to the fire. Further south, if I'm pronouncing this right, the Lamont Fire, which is outside of Douglas, sort of. If you're in Douglas and Glendale and you look toward to the north side of Laramie Peak up in the mountains there, that's the one where I got out and got a bunch of really good pictures of those planes coming in and dipping the water in Glendale. So the management team says there's about 3,500 acres, 40% containment. The incident management team working the fire said in a press release that the fire is burning both sides of private and BLM land about 20 miles south of Douglas. The fire was first reported last week and is burning in steep, rugged territory. That's been the hard part with that fire. Because I first saw it when I was driving from Cheyenne north on I-25, and I said, wow, look at that smoke. And my eye went tracing the smoke back to the Laramie Range, and I could see exactly where it was coming from. And I thought, wow, that's going to be some tough area to get to. You can get some fire crews up there, but that's mostly going to be fought from the air, and it has been mostly so far. Fire was first reported last week in steep, rugged territory. The management team said the cause of the fire currently unknown. Hand crews and fire engines will receive air support in the coming days to continue suppressing. And what they're doing there in those unburned areas is going into areas that haven't been burned yet and doing all they can just to clear stuff. So when the fire does get to that area, there's just nothing to burn, or there's a good enough fire break so it has a tough time jumping that line. That's where the big planes come in, huge planes, flying over, dropping that fire retardant. And have you ever really gotten close to that fire retardant? They color it the way they do so they can see where they dropped it. But it's the substance that they made that is really sticky, so it sticks to everything, and just difficult to light on fire. Not impossible, but really difficult to light on fire. And so a forest fire is usually under the heat necessary to light that stuff up. So, yeah, it does help prevent fire from spreading. It's not perfect, but when you're dealing with rugged area like that, it's about the best they got to work with. 742, get day weather on the phone. Wake up, Wyoming.
Sure, this show is sustainable. We sequester all gas emissions to one room. Wake up, Wyoming with Glenn Woods, live on AM 1030 and FM 95.1, weekdays at 6.
To help keep your kids safe. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information, visit talktheyhearyou.samhsa.gov.
.45 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go today, weather to talk to Don Watzel. So, okay, wind finally stopped, and I can understand what people are saying when I'm outside, Don.
Yeah, a lot less wind to deal with today. Everything's pretty much calmed down, and today's really starting off nice across the region. Generally sunny skies, little fog out in the western valleys, but yeah, no complaints compared to 24 hours ago.
Now it looks like tomorrow the temperatures just kind of bop up a little bit before a big drop.
Yeah, they are going to warm up tomorrow. One more surge of warm weather coming in from our high pressure to the south. And then they will retreat again for both Saturday and Sunday. Not a big drop, but we do have actually a couple systems coming through. One from the north that'll affect northern Wyoming, and then another upper level low that'll affect southeastern areas by late Saturday.
And some people are hoping to get rain out of that.
Yeah, the best chance for rain this weekend going to be in the far southeast corridor. Laramie to Cheyenne, Wheatland, Torrington, still kind of in that northwestern bullseye where some steadier rain showers are possible. I think the track might go a little more southward, but as we go through the next couple of days, that area should still see the best chance for showers.
Yeah, I think what I'm really impressed with when I take a look at this weekend's weather is Sunday's the first day of fall. And, man,
yes,
it hits right on schedule, doesn't it? I mean, it's going to feel like fall.
Yeah, the areas that get the rainfall Saturday night and Sunday really going to feel the cool the most. Probably not going to make it out of the 50s in those areas. Everyone else going to be mostly 60s in the plains and valleys. Some low 70s possible in the far northeast.
Yeah, it looks like dry and cool after that for the next few days. Again, very fall-like with those crisp, clean skies.
Yeah, pretty run-of-the-mill weather for this time of year as we get into the fall season. Maybe a couple other fast-moving systems dropping in late Monday into Tuesday. But, yeah, as we look ahead, basically for the next 7 days or so, outside of that trough in the south, nothing too significant.
Okay. See, I just want to put a warning out to people, Don. For those who have a convertible over the next few days, if you're driving down the road and you don't have your top down, the police will pull you over and give you a ticket.
Yeah, I don't have a convertible, so I don't really have that problem.
Okay, but just for those people who do, I'm just warning you. All right, thank you, Don.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think that's a very important message. If we go to the Icebox, Frank Gambino waiting by. That's not a law, Frank, but I think that should be a law. If it's really nice out with fall temperatures and you don't have the top down on your convertible, that's a ticket.
I don't have a convertible.
Okay.
So
you don't have to worry about it.
No.
At least have your windows open when you drive?
Well, sometimes, I like to see the dogs, they're outside.
Oh, yeah.
They're outside.
Yeah, they just absolutely love that.
I've never understood that, how the dogs always like to stick their heads into the wind.
I never understood that either. Another one that I like is for those people who have the right kind of Jeep, top down, doors off.
Oh, yeah.
I just love watching Jeeps driving down the road like that. It's that kind of weather. Open it up.
You should see them when they're way up there.
Yeah, absolutely. When they get up high, that's exactly. So you got to get a Jeep that you can. Oh, some of them you can even fold down the windshield.
Really?
Oh yeah, there are Jeeps. You can doors off, top down, and the windshield will lay forward, so you can just get. And that's when you're way up in the mountains on the back roads.
See, you have all. You're a virtual.
I am something other. Don't say those words on the radio.
Encyclopedia.
Now I came across something since you'll like this. Since we're already people are starting, and you've seen it around town. People are starting to get their Halloween decorations out, and those people who love to really do it up, like Christmas. There's those people who really love to do the yard.
I like
up.
those 10, 11 foot tall skeletons.
Yes, I have one sketchy light bulb around Christmas time out front, and that's it. That's all I do. So I came across this one. You live in a hick town when your jack-o'-lantern has more teeth than your neighbor. I think that's probably about accurate. But then now, there's something I noticed different, Frank, when it comes to. Have you ever carved a pumpkin?
No, well, I've been around people who have.
Yes,
I've watched. I'm not going to get anywhere with knives and a pumpkin.
I've tried
fingers.
And I found out a couple of things about pumpkin carving. First off, if you have chickens, draw the outline and peel that outer skin off.
Okay.
And put it in front of the chickens, and they will eat away everything else, making the face for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's one thing. Try that. It actually works. Next thing is, being in the South, in Florida, I carved a pumpkin. I put it out front. And it didn't take long before the mold started to grow inside. So when I lifted up the lid, it looked like it was just full of hair in there. But in Wyoming, it doesn't do that.
Yeah. Well, you have humidity down there.
Yes, we actually do. All right, go with sports.
All right, high school volleyball tonight in Casper. And the Toronto will host Evanston. Kelly Walsh will host Riverton. In the 4A standings in volleyball, Laramie 13-0, Kelly Walsh 12-2, Cheyenne East 9-6, the Toronto 6-7, Cheyenne Central 5-8, and Cheyenne South 2-13. All 5 of those teams will be in the Casper Invite at the Ford Center Friday and Saturday. Our latest Wild Preps high school volleyball poll is out in 4A, and the Toronto is still number 1, Kelly Walsh 2, Thunder Basin 3, Green River 4, and Sheridan 5. Over in 3A, Douglas rated number 1 again, followed by Wheatland, Paula, Mountain View. Bighorn leads the 2A ranks with Tongue River 2nd, Pine Bluffs 3rd, Wright 4th, Sundance 5th. And in 1A, Little Snake River rated 1st, followed by Cokeville, Southeast, Riverside, and Encampment. Wyoming Cowboy football team will need some soul searching as they head into Saturday night's game against North Texas in Denton. Cowboys have a multitude of issues they need to correct, and they've started out the season 0-3, and they have not looked very good in the process. Better execution on offense at all positions tops the list, and the team needs to be Cowboy tough and start hitting people hard. North Texas from the American Athletic Conference was boat raced by Texas Tech last week 66-21 as Tech scored 35 points in the second quarter. North Texas quarterback Chandler Morris threw 3 interceptions, and the Mean Green has been beset by injuries just like Wyoming has. Cowboys are 9-point underdogs, and a win will certainly appease the fan base, at least for now. 5 p.m. start from Denton. We'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KOWB in Laramie. In the NFL, the Denver Broncos have exhibited bad offensive play on their way to an 0-2 start. They'll be at Tampa Bay on Sunday. Broncos rookie quarterback Bo Nix is rated 31st out of 32 NFL starting quarterbacks because he's thrown 4 interceptions and no TD passes. So who knows how short his leash is. Broncos are 6.5-point underdogs in the game. That is a big spread in the NFL, and it'll be an 11 a.m. kickoff on Sunday. The state high school golf tournaments will start will be tomorrow and Saturday. The 4A tournament will be in Star Valley, 3A in Rawlins, 2A will be in Sheridan. The 4A regional tennis tournaments are upon us. The 4A North tournament in Casper will conclude today, and the 4A South will be in Green River starting tomorrow. State high school tennis tournament will be in Gillette starting a week from today, and that's it in sports.
I know it's a little while before they start closing down the golf courses, and
normally about the end of October.
Yeah, so we got a little while here, but just for everybody, first off, that donated a golf ball onto my lawn, thank you for that.
Yeah.
But you are a little short of the quota. So for those people who want to go out and play until they close down the golf course across the street from my house, if you could step it up. When you're on the second tee, just hit it out to the road. Mm-hmm. Add to my collection.
Well, are you just getting golf balls just from your property, or you're going down the road, or the neighbor's house?
As soon as I turn onto Oakcrest from any direction, my eyes are darting around.
Yeah.
Now, most of them do wind up in my yard. But, I'm looking, Frank. I'm always on the scan for golf balls that may be out there.
Yeah, but they all have that big scuff of concrete on them.
Actually,
they're useless.
You would be surprised. If you would like to come by and take a look at my golf ball collections with some money so you can purchase a few, on sale now until the end of October, feel free to do that.
Oh boy, I'm on it.
All right, coming up on some local business we got to take care of. And then, we have a guest coming in the 8 o'clock hour about something we talked about that had to do with the ice skating rink, one of them here in Wyoming, and who's paying for that. That's a conversation we'll have. Let's wake up, Wyoming. What? 8:06 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Thursday, and I swear I can see the weekend from here. Sitting in the studio with me, and this is based on a conversation we had earlier this week. The 2 people in front of me are
Travis St. John.
And you are?
Kira Bullard.
And you're both with?
Casper Amateur Hockey Club.
Okay, so let's set up everybody on the conversation that we were just having here. So a list came down about a penny tax, essentially, here in Port Casper, Wyoming, and a list of things that would be done with that people can sort of pick and choose from. And the conversation I wanted to get going had to do with, well, what should government spend money on and not spend money on? And since you're with an organization that goes to, do we call it the Ice Arena here, or what's the name of the?
Yes, that's correct, Casper Ice Arena.
Okay, so some things that were said on here you thought were maybe not quite correct, some things that came in from some listeners, so you want to set the record straight, but also talk about funding for that. So first off, let's set up who you are so people know.
So I'm president of the Casper Amateur Hockey Club and been a part of that organization for the last 10 years.
Okay.
Working towards getting a second sheet of ice since the fall of 2018.
Okay. Now, that second sheet of ice was one of the reasons that you want to come in, because I think someone had sent me a note saying that you already have a sheet of ice. Why do you need a second sheet of ice?
Why do we need it?
Yes.
So the big reason that we're pushing for that is just the demand that we have currently.
Yeah.
We have 220 kids in our organization and really no room to expand, just given that the limited ice time that we have. And the other thing is to try and take advantage and help improve the community. Each tournament that we have brings in approximately $400,000 of economic benefit to the community. We can, with a second sheet of ice, we can bring in bigger tournaments, more tournaments that helps expand that throughout the community, as well as expand opportunities for junior hockey, which brings in more revenues across the community as well.
Okay, so when we say second sheet of ice, let's take a look at what that looks like, because we're not talking about there's a sheet of ice, you're going to put another sheet of ice on top of that sheet of ice. Is this expanding out the facility?
It would be, yes, that's correct. It would be adding another building and ice rink to the west of the existing ice rink.
Okay. Does that come with other parts of the facility? Usually if you expand out, you got to have places for people to go change or other facilities like that?
Yes, it's a fully functional locker rooms. There's some suites and additional rooms that they can use for birthday parties and things like that. All the stands along the other side, it'll seat between 800 and 1,200 spectators, depending on how it's set up for those particular events, plus new concession area, new entryway. It modifies the existing rink as well, just so that everything ties together.
Okay. Does this have to do then a lot with youth leagues that are playing in the area? I'm not a sports fan, so you'll have to help me out with that.
Yes, that would be the biggest. We're the biggest user group up there with the 200 kids playing, but we also have men's hockey that has leagues in the evening, which is limited right now because of the limited ice time we have with just the one sheet of ice. We have figure skating, and a curling group that is not existent right now because there isn't room ice time. But the figure skating group, our group, and then also they do a lot of stuff with just learn to skate, and there's always schools and things that go and use the programs that the Casper Ice Arena does themselves. And they overall in a year, we get about 17,000 users, whether that's spectators or ice skaters or people that use the ice arena on a regular basis.
Okay, so this would be, I guess, in an ice-speaking way, very much like a rec center.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. When we talk about ice, I've seen some ice arenas where it's not exactly ice; it's something that mimics it. Is that what you're doing, or is it actually ice?
You want to answer that one?
Oh, sure. It is actual ice.
Okay.
And so back in, I guess, a little history, I think a caller or someone had said that there was a second sheet of ice already at the event center.
Right.
And that used to be correct, and the city did invest in putting in ice at the event center, had the plant, had the Zamboni, all the boards, but the city determined it was not economically feasible.
Right.
In order to turn that facility from an ice rink to a banquet or a rodeo or a concert, I was told it cost about $25,000 to turn that. Every time they needed to switch the ice out.
Yeah, okay.
And so it just was not economically feasible. The ice plant, which is what makes the ice at the event center, was about $1 million cost. And it was large enough that it could run 2 sheets of ice. Mm-hmm. Well, the original ice plant at the Casper Ice Arena was failing. So back in, I think around 2018, 2019, they pulled that ice plant from the event center, replace the old aging one at the Casper Ice Arena. And so there is an ice plant there that can run 2 separate sheets of real ice.
Okay. Now, this gets down to, you had mentioned the cost of this. Part of what the conversation was about the other day, which comes down to some taxpayer money is being asked for on this. Who pays for what? Where does the funding for all of this come from? Because you were telling me it doesn't just come from the city.
Correct. And it's one thing that makes our project unique. The ICE user groups I would say with Casper Amateur Hockey being the leader of those groups, is we've committed to fundraising through donors $10 million towards the budget for the build out of the new ice rink is between $18 and $19 million. $10 million of that we've committed to raising from our organizations. And then the city back in January of 2023 committed to $3.4 million from their budgets at that time. And then we're lobbying for the $5 million in the community tax.
Okay. And do people also come in, pay to come in and see events if they're fans of whatever's going on?
Yeah. So, and especially we just added the city just contracted with the Warbirds, which is a junior hockey club, and they've contracted for the next 3 years with them, and they do they charge for their tickets and stuff from their standpoint. And if you go in and even use the ice rink for stick and puck or your public skate, things like that, there's a fee that the ice rink charges for that.
Okay.
And we as a club rent ice from the city for it's I think about $150 an hour. That to rent the ice, and that's if Team Wyoming, any other clubs or any other ice organizations around this state or anywhere else were to come in and want to use a portion of ice time, they would pay that fee as well.
Okay, so am I understanding then? So your organization is coming up with some fans and people who want to go skating, and other groups are coming up with some. So you're just trying to find out where you can bring all the money in to make this work, and that's where the ask from the taxpayers is coming. Would that be correct?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. So deadline then would be, I guess, when we go to the polls to find out about this.
Yes.
Okay. How do people find out about your organization while we're at it, because they might want to get involved in that?
So we'll have some different. We'll be on social media through some of the city master plan websites, things like that. There'll be a lot of links and stuff for information to websites that provide summaries of information, but probably through some of the city links that they've done a couple of open houses that go through a lot of the information pretty well. And that would be probably the best information side.
Yeah. Okay.
And for specific information pertaining to the Casper Amateur Hockey Association, they could just Google Casper Amateur Hockey. It comes right up. And also our social media. We have Facebook as well.
Okay. So because I figure some people would have some questions, or maybe even want to get involved with you guys, so they may want to get a hold of you. What about other organizations? I suppose you've probably gotten together and have conversations with them about this to try to work together?
So the Casper Figure Skating Club, men's hockey, and those are the ones I can think of.
Okay. Do we still have a hockey team? We had a hockey team here for a while, I thought.
So
the minor leagues one, I guess.
Yep, and that's we've had the Coyotes were here for a little while, and then the Bobcats, and now the Warbirds is the junior team, and it's a different. I can't think of the name of it now, but it's a college transition team or junior team. So the kids that are playing here now and will be this fall and into the spring are all looking towards transitioning to college, which is a little bit different than what we've had in the junior teams that we've had before.
Okay,
we've got a few D1 prospects and other kids that are really trying to advance their hockey careers. So it should be pretty exciting. And the Warbirds, I feel, are taking a very good path, the way that they're marketing and the way that they're investing in the community to try and make their venture successful.
Okay. Did I miss anything?
But not that
I think we're good.
Yeah.
If you have anything else you want to talk about, you're welcome to come back at any time. Thank you for coming.
We appreciate it.
Wake Up Wyoming.
Got something to say to Glenn? Use the chat on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app and get your opinions straight to the studio with K2 Radio.
8:21 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming, and it's open phone. So 888-97 Wood's the phone number. I hate that I can't play that stuff very well. I'm having a computer issue, so all of the stuff I normally play, like our open phone thing, out of reach now. I just can't get to it. But I can still see your notes. So, okay. As I've said before with this program, the format that I set up for this program is we can talk about anything, but I want to make sure that everybody can be heard. As long as you're not a jerk like Dave in San Francisco, You can call up and tell me why I'm wrong about something or disagree, whatever the case is. So when we were talking about the proper role of government, because the city of Casper, Wyoming, there's some people asking for an extra penny for various projects. And you know me, the tightwad with the taxpayer money, I mean, seriously a tightwad. There's very few things that I would want government to spend tax money on. And one of the items listed was the people that you just heard in front of me, which had to do with the ice arena in Casper, Wyoming, wanting to expand it a bit, but other projects they have going on there. Now, it was good to hear from them that the groups that use the ice arena pay for their use and raise money to help keep the whole thing going. So they're raising money, they're paying for things, they rent it for about $150 an hour, and on it goes. And so as they're raising money to get things going, that's where they're asking from the taxpayers because they need a few million more to keep things and expand out like they would like to. So that's the conversation we had. Now, while they were talking, Rick and Cheyenne, and I do remember this, Rick, he says Cheyenne has the same issue with the Ice and Event Center. The city seems to think that they should be in business. They bought it from a failing business. And I do remember that, the original Ice Event Center and ice and events, because they use it for both. There's times it's an ice skating rink, and it's not real ice. They lay down something else. It's like a plastic, and I don't know what it's made of, but I've stood on it, and it's as slippery as ice. And they use it for all sorts of events, but they also do concerts there. Stand-up comedians have shown up there. So Rick is saying it needs to go back to the private sector. Government has no business in business. They're very inefficient about everything they do. But okay. So to me, that's where the conversation really comes down to. Is this something that is the proper role of government or not, or your taxpayer money or not? Judy is in Casper about the gravel pit. So, Judy, you won a victory.
Well, for now.
For now.
I have a feeling that True's probably going to take this to the state or to the local courts. But anyway, I wanted to congratulate all those guys because they worked hard. And 20,000 signatures means a lot when it comes to elections, when it comes to getting something changed. And, you know, when I went through my stuff, my lawyer said something, and I'll never forget it. Why does everything that we do in this state have to end up in a court? Mm. You know, they just won't do the right thing. Well, they did the right thing here. So I want to congratulate Dallas Laird and Dave North and Friel, even Milne. But Milne made a statement. I watched the video again last night from the meeting, and he said he didn't know where that change came in. Well, I know for a fact that when Rose and I went to Jim Milne, and we showed him where those guys were changing stuff, and he was working on that planning revision. Okay, so he actually lied to the people when he said he didn't know where it came from. Okay, that was back in, that was this, I don't know, last year, maybe last year, that I've been telling them for 2 years your land revision was adopted illegally, and they just wouldn't listen. Right. And they know it to be a fact. But anyway, when they claim they didn't know where it came from, well, that was like Paul Bertolio, Rob Hendry, Jim Milne, Peter Nicolason, and Dave North were the commissioners when after 18 years that reappeared. And Jim Milne told us that he worked on this plan himself. So I wanted to get that out there. Planning and zoning, now, these guys are unelected. They're appointed by the commissioners. And planning and zoning, I think we have problems with these guys because they're okaying things that they shouldn't be okaying without doing any research or footwork. And I think they're kind of picking winners and losers in land use rights. And I'm a big advocate for land use. You know that.
Right.
So anyway, I just wanted to get that out there and say congratulations to those guys. But, you know, don't put on the party hat.
Yeah, we still have a ways to go. All right, I got to run over to Jim in Casper. Morning, Jim.
Good morning, Glenn. Hey, great topic about, you know, government expenditures, the role of government, et cetera. And I think what we have is just a pandemic of public officials at all levels who, you know, are just afflicted with spending other people's money. kudos to Natrona County School Board Commissioner Mary Schmidt, who questioned how they were trying to ramroad a new athletic center for Kelly Walsh and things that, she said it didn't come out of the committee. It wasn't a recommendation. And, just encourage people to follow the rules. And, that received some blowback from the people who just are addicted to spending money. Okay. The city's going to spend $4 million on signage to direct people to the Yellowstone District and to the Nicolaisen and to Casper College and all these things. $4 million for a chairlift for Hagedon when ski lifts all over the country that are privately owned are struggling. I like to just look at things in terms of, okay, how much does that cost and how much does that cost to every resident of Natrona County? And pretty soon you can start to see, these are hundreds of dollars that they're putting on the head of every person in our county.
Right. All right. And I'm also
it's easy to spend other people's money.
At least in Wyoming, in order for them to do this, they have to come to us and ask us for the money. They can't just go ahead and raise the tax and do it. So at least Wyoming has that advantage. But, yeah, there's a lot of things still local government spends money on across Wyoming that you should take a look at the Field of Dreams up in Campbell County. That'll drive you nuts.
At the city council meeting recently, they said, hey, let's put lights above the streets downtown, for businesses down there. And they said, oh, that would cost $400,000 per block. Well, for what?
Yeah. I often wonder about the price tag because, the price tag is usually higher when government's spending the money, a lot higher.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Jim. Coming up on some – no, it really – that's why – look, they want to build a new fire station, which I'm not opposed to. Fire station's a great idea. Let's build a fire station. They've even come down in the cost of that thing. But before they do it, I would like to take a look at the books to find out why does it cost that much. Because usually when government spends money on something, they end up spending way more than it actually would have cost if the private sector had done it for something just as good, if not better. All right, 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. You can talk about what I'm talking about or change the subject. That's fine by me. Local news coming your way after a local news update on the weather forecast, and you and I get back into it. Wake up, Wyoming.
Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Join the conversation at 888-97-WOODS.
I'm so happy to be here. Yeah. I'm just happy to be here. Still I know the world's on fire, the situation's dire. A lot of work and courage gonna be required, but I'm just happy to be here.
8:36 their time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is open phones. 888-97-WOODS, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. So, two different places. We'll go to Casper, then Cheyenne. Frank and Casper, speaking of the ice arena, which we just had a couple of folks in here to talk about that. The city of Casper, says Frank, has already committed about $3 million according to the interview. I think that's enough taxpayer funding. Well, I'm thinking that would have to come through I'll have to check into that, come in through the penny tax to raise the money for what they think they need extra in order to keep that event center, well, even expand it the way they want to expand it. Kenton Cheyenne says the old wants versus needs debate. Cheyenne mayor wants amenities to keep young families here. Let me go back to something. When I was talking about Gillette, Wyoming a while ago, I was calling this the field of broke. And what that was is the city of Cheyenne and Campbell County were complaining that they needed money, which is something they needed to do to get some good water there. So they really worked hard, even raised some taxes, asked the taxpayers, can we raise taxes, to get the Madison pipeline, which is bringing water from a completely different county, which had really good water, into Gillette, Wyoming, which has some really hard water. And I thought that was a good project. I mean, you need water. So, yeah, you want to start a public project like that. Sometimes I look at it and think, okay. But they had asked the taxpayers for a raise in taxes to pay for this. And the people said, yes, okay. Shortly afterwards, the government there, the city and the county, I believe, together. I'll have to go back and look, but I think it was the city county together. Suddenly just dumped a bunch of money. No, it was the city, to open up to buy a huge chunk of land within the city area. And we were all asking, where'd you get the money from? I thought that money could have been spent on the water project. Why'd you come asking us for money when you had all this money sitting over here? Well, different money's earmarked for different things. You can't just move it around. And the answer is, of course you can. But then what are you buying that huge field for? Well, we're going to do this huge recreational area. There's going to be places for skateboarders and BMX bikers and baseball fields and on and on, a water park, and on and on and on it went with all these things they were going to do. And who's paying for all of this? Well, the taxpayers are paying for all of this. Where's the money coming from for all of this? Now, at the time, we were, Wyoming goes through boom, bust, boom, bust. So it was a boom cycle, and Campbell County and Gillette, Wyoming was doing really well. So they had the money to spend on all of this. But I reminded them, boom, bust, boom, bust. Then we hit a bust. I said, when you hit that bust, and it's going to happen, all of a sudden you're on the hook for all of this stuff that you just built. So how about no? Let's not do that. I'm not opposed to baseball and BMX biking and stuff like that. But again, private groups, private company businesses, or maybe nonprofit groups, stuff like that. Keep it off the taxpayer rolls. As a libertarian, I just look at that as what is the role of government here? Well, so far what Gillette has done is they haven't built it all, but they've built some of those things, baseball and some other things. But yeah, they ended up stopping some of the work over time as, yes, boom, bust, boom, bust. And then how do you maintain expensive things? How do you maintain something that's expensive when the money's not coming in? I kept trying to warn the politicians of that, too. Don't do that, because you want to build all of this fancy stuff, but then we hit a bust cycle, and what do? How do you continue to maintain all of that? Not a good idea. So this is part of, for me, when I say, what is boom, bust, when do we spend money on this or not? Then, one more. I'll go back down to Cheyenne for this one. So the audience that listens to KGAB in Cheyenne, there were some people there in Cheyenne that wanted an indoor soccer field because they have kids that play soccer. And as you know, with Wyoming's weather, especially the wind, it can be very hard to play soccer in the snow and so on during certain times of the year. So these parents want an indoor soccer field, which I think sounds like a great idea. So right away, we need to raise money, tax money, to pay for this. And my question was, why should the taxpayers pay for this? Why don't the parents who want their kids to have an indoor soccer field pay for this? Start some nonprofit organization. Let's raise some money, or maybe start a business, whatever the case is. I even had the same discussion with some people about a dog park, not in Cheyenne, elsewhere in Wyoming. Some people who own dogs, but they lived in apartments, and there's no place to run their dogs. We want a dog park. I think that's a great idea. So go ahead and buy a little piece of land and open up a dog park. And you can do it by membership. People can pay a day rate to run their dog, whatever the case is. But the people who wanted the dog park wanted it all to be on the taxpayers' dime. You see the problem I have? Yeah, I don't like government being involved in too much of anything. They shouldn't be running businesses. Government should be filling potholes, keeping your police department and fire department going, things like that. Arnie sends me this note. I've got an idea for you to name Tuesday's show. Oh, good. There's a McCarthy song from the 70s, Just Another Day. I know the one you're talking about. I'll take a look at that. If I can go ahead and put it together and play some little bit, that's not a bad idea. And real quick, what Arnie's talking about, when I start the show on Monday, it's Monday, rinse and repeat. Wednesday, over the hump we go. Thursday, I can see the weekend from here. Friday, I'm glad you made it. But I've never had, in decades of doing this job, I've never had anything for Tuesday. I could play the song Tuesday afternoon, but we're in the morning. That doesn't work. All right. 888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. So I hope you understand what I'm saying. And the reason that when that couple came in to sit down and talk about the ice arena, I want that kind of a conversation, just so you know. Because I want to hear if we're saying, you and I are saying something that wasn't correct, or if we just haven't heard the other point of view on this. That's why I have phones. That's why you can text me using the Wake Up Wyoming app. And some people, you can even come in and sit down across from me and just flat out tell me why I'm wrong. Or the listeners out there, if someone's made a mistake. That's the point of the program. That's why I do it the way that I do it. So I'll go ahead and tell you what I think, and then you guys can chime in with whatever you think. And the only time I've ever hung up on somebody is people like Dave from San Francisco, because he's an obnoxious jerk. Other than that, any topic and anything goes on this. And for folks out there who would like government to continue funding your golf course, your ski resort, and whatever else they might be funding, I understand that you're trying to get money to continue doing something that you really are passionate about, and I get that. My only concern is, where's the money coming from? And when it comes to taxpayer money, I prefer that the people who worked hard to earn it, it gets to stay in their pocket unless they choose to show up where you are and hand you their money. Whether it's a donation or they're doing business with you, whatever the case is. That's how I see it from the more libertarian perspective. 845, Wake Up Wyoming.
He's not a politician, but his pants are on fire. Could someone grab an extinguisher? Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
8:48's the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Off we go to the icebox. Frank Gambino is waiting by. Frank, I'm going to take you down memory lane.
Oh, okay. I wish I could remember.
Yeah, it's too bad you've reached that age. Yeah. Okay, so I'm looking at a picture here of a living room. First off, the living room is sunken, right?
So it's down like
yes.
4 stairs.
Yes.
Yeah.
2, really.
2, okay.
Shag carpet.
I remember that.
Yes. So there's a big unit over there up against the wall that holds a pretty good-sized square television, a stereo system. Oh, and an Atari video game center.
Oh, yeah. That was high dollar then.
I used to have one of these. It's a small radio, but it was round like a ball.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
With the little dials on the side there. Okay. Yeah. Next to it to watch in the DVD player, which looks like one of the beta DVD players when they first started coming out, is the movie Jaws. Wood panel.
Oh, yeah. Who didn't have that in their house? It's someplace, yeah.
Of course, there's a big plant that they got to stick in there, like a plant's going to grow in your living room like that.
Yeah.
And a phone that was sort of an off-white color hanging on the wall with an extension cord that can be reached anywhere in the living room.
Yeah. The phone is about a beige type color.
Yeah, kind of
And that cord would also wrap up itself.
Oh, my
so you
God,
had to sometimes unplug it and then stretch it out.
Yes, okay.
And then it would only be useful for like another minute.
Right.
And then it would go back to the way it was before.
A big ashtray.
Well, yeah. No, not a small one, like a big one where there's 8 things for smokes.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm looking at. It's a big rectangular ashtray is what this is. And, of course, it's this weird lime green color for the ashtray.
Yeah, they could probably got more. They're more like brown,
right.
like the color of coffee sometimes.
Sure, yeah. And so to me, when I look at this living room set, right away the smell of cigarettes, old stale cigarettes, comes to mind.
Yeah, in the drapes, in the walls.
Yeah. So if you're wondering what Frank and I are talking about, it was our childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't have anybody smoking. We had no smokers in our house, but friends of mine. Wow, it's like a chimney.
Oh, my Lord, yeah.
Holy, and we're like, 8, 9 years old, and Won't bother me, right?
No. In fact, driving down the road with both parents up front smoking cigarettes and the kids in the back not buckled into the seatbelt. Go with sports.
All right. Even the Wyoming Cowboy football team will need some soul searching as they head into Saturday night's game against North Texas in Denton. The Cowboys have a multitude of issues they have to correct after an 0-3 start, and they're not a good football team right now. They need better execution on offense. That's obvious. At all positions, that's obvious. And the team needs to be a little play with an edge. I mean, more Cowboy tough and just hit people hard all game. North Texas from the American Athletic Conference was boat raced by Texas Tech last week, 66-21. Tech scored 35 points in the second quarter. North Texas quarterback Chandler Morris threw 3 interceptions, and the Mean Green has been beset by injuries just like Wyoming has. Cowboys are 9-point underdogs, and they need to not only show improvement, they need to start winning. And that'll be a 5 p.m. start from Denton. We'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KOWB in Laramie. In the NFL, the Denver Broncos have exhibited bad offensive play, too, on a way to an 0-2 start. They'll be at Tampa Bay on Sunday. Broncos rookie quarterback Bo Nix is rated 31st out of 32 starting quarterbacks in the league, and Nix has thrown 4 picks and no touchdown passes. So how short is his leash? Broncos are 6.5-point underdogs in that game. That's a big spread in the NFL, and that'll be at 11 a.m. kickoff on Sunday. State high school golf tournaments will start tomorrow and then run through Saturday. The 4A tournament will be in Star Valley. 3A in Rawlins, 2A will be in Sheridan. The 4A regional high school tennis tournaments are upon us. The 4A North tournament in Casper will be conclude today, and the 4A South will start in Green River tomorrow. State high school tennis tournament will be in Gillette starting a week from today. High school volleyball in Casper, and the Toronto will host Evanston. Kelly Walsh will host Riverton, and the 4A standings. Laramie is 13-0. Kelly Walsh 12-2. Cheyenne East 9-6. Natrona 6-7. Cheyenne Central 5-8, and Cheyenne South 2-13. All 5 of those schools will be in the Casper Invite coming up at the Ford Center tomorrow and Saturday. And the latest Wild Preps volleyball poll is out in 4A. Laramie number 1. Kelly Walsh 2. Thunder Basin 3. Green River 4. And Sheridan 5. Over in 3A, Douglas was rated number 1, followed by Cody, Wheatland, Powell, and Mountain View. Bighorn leads the 2A ranks with Tug River 2nd, Pine Bluffs 3rd, Wright 4th, Sundance 5th, and in 1A, Little Snake River rated number 1, followed by Cokeville, Southeast, Riverside, and Encampment. That's it in sports.
Well, Michelle from Cheyenne sends this note. I was all good on going down memory lane until you mentioned the cigarettes.
Well, I mean, yeah. Who remembers, like some of my relatives, they smoked those filterless Pall Malls.
Oh,
holy cow.
My school had a smoking tree where the students, the seniors who smoked, could go outside and go stand around the tree and smoke the cigarettes and come back to class. And it was okay with the school.
My school, high school, did not allow any, and this is in the 80s, did not allow any, in the late 70s, did not allow any smoking on campus. And the dean of students actually suspended a kid for smoking a cigarette on his own front porch, and he lived across the street from the school.
Oh, my God. But no, he should have gone to court on that.
He's a sophomore in high school.
Yeah, that's outrageous. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business. He was across the street. He was home. He should have been able to. Coming up on some local business we have to take care. We're going to roll into news time, national local update on the weather forecast. Then we have another government shutdown coming. Yeah, they're out of money again. Let's Wake Up Wyoming. 9:06 at time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Thursday, and I swear I can see the weekend from here. 888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. I got a little house cleaning to do, which is just some subjects I want to pick up and get off, out of the way. Friday I'll do some more of that too, but you can change the subject at any time. So 888-97 Woods, that's the number. Or you can text me using the Wake Up Wyoming app. Just go to your app store, whatever mobile device you use, and just type in Wake Up Wyoming, and it'll download. You can listen to the show live or later as a podcast. You can text me. It does all sorts of things, news, sports, weather, and it's all free to you. So, okay, another government shutdown coming. You heard me talking about this earlier this week, but okay, here we go. They haven't solved anything. But it's your government, so they haven't solved anything. Federal government shutdown still looms, says the story. House failed to pass a stopgap measure before the end of fiscal year at September 30th. The 6-month continuing resolution fell short, 202 to 220 after 14 Republicans and 3 Democrats defected over party lines over a controversial decision to tie voter ID provisions, which is the SAVE Act that you've been hearing about, which would just make sure that if you're going to vote in federal elections, you have to be a U.S. citizen. House Speaker Mike Johnson, Republican of Louisiana, talking about comments from President Trump, said linking the two issues delivers what the overwhelming majority of the people in the country want, and that's just to protect our elections. Okay, so while it's already illegal for non-citizens to vote in elections, by the way, Johnson's made no apologies for the decision to combine the two, stating, Congress has an immediate obligation to do these two things: responsibility to fund the government and to ensure security of our elections. And by the way, to me, and I blame both parties for this, again, another continuing resolution. Once again, they're out of money. They borrowed how many trillions of dollars just this year alone? Way beyond what the budget should be, yet they keep running out of money. All right, so I remember this was years ago, long time ago. I was a young man at this time. There was a big push for people to get out of credit card debt, which apparently didn't work, but there are people out there who are debt counselors. And this, again, I'm a young man when I'm watching this on TV. And this debt counselor has some young people in his office because they are way in debt, especially on their credit cards. And so the debt counselor turns to the young couple and says, okay, do you have your credit cards with you? May I see your credit cards, please? And they turn over a bunch of credit cards. And the debt counselor pulls out a huge pair of scissors and cuts them up right in front of the couple, and they are horrified. How are we supposed to do? We can't pay for things. We don't have any. That's enough of your credit. Step 1, no more credit. Enough. Step 1, you're going to quit borrowing money. You are going to live within your means, which is what has to happen with our federal government. You are going to start living. I don't want to hear any more about raising taxes on anybody. You are going to start living within your means, which is why I would put our federal government, if I could have my way, and I'm not going to have my way, but if I could, I would put our federal government on a budget. Now, don't take this number to be realistic, but I'm going to pick a number. Let's give the federal government $1 trillion a year to run the country. There you go. That's everything. That's what they get. No more nor less. And if they say, but how do we do this? How do we do that? Well, you have to figure it out, because this is what you get, $1 trillion a year. Done. Which would greatly lower our taxes, by the way, but also give us a chance to start catching up on our debt. And if government says, but we're going to have to shut all these programs down, good. If you're, let's say, let's take a family that lives in a really nice big house, and they have a second vacation home, and they have several very nice cars in the garage, et cetera, right? And they need to cut back because they're going broke. Step 1, sell that extra house. Step 2, get rid of some of those cars so you don't have all these car payments. Next, the big house you're living in, it's going to get a lot smaller. You're going to sell that house and move to someplace much smaller. That's what we need to do with our government in that sense. All right, so reading on, specifically the provision about voting, the SAVE Act, which is holding up the continuing resolution. Specifically, the provision would require states to verify citizenship when registering voters. Story says, while many lawmakers believe uniting the two issues is necessary, it has narrowly divided Democrats. And some call it a political stunt. No, it's not, but all right. Quote, America is tired of the constant Trump-driven chaos, said Democrat Patty Murray. I love it when politicians say, Americans are tired. You have no idea what Americans want or don't want or are tired of. You guys have no idea. But you keep telling us Americans are tired of this and Americans want, you don't know. So, this is, once again, here's what I think is going to happen. Over the next week, they got to the 30th to pass a continuing resolution. And the Republicans will still try to slip things in there, and it'll keep getting shot down. But at some point, because they all have to come home for vacation in October, and many of them have to campaign in order to get reelected. So they'll pass something. And I know this is going to happen because they've done it every single time. Whatever they pass is going to be a massive spending bill, probably about 2 feet high, worth of paper. And they're not going to know most of what's in it. These omnibus spending bills again. And it's not really a budget thing. This is just a continuing resolution. And they'll try to sneak all sorts of stuff in there. They'll especially try to sneak all sorts of stuff in there because it's an election year. Now more than ever for the politician, and again, I don't care which party, now more than ever for the politician, they have to look like they're doing something good for their community. I care about you and the community. Why? Look at the money I brought in for you. I'm going to fund this, and we're going to fund that, and it's because I brought all this money in. And I've told you before, there's a couple of politicians that at first I thought I liked them because they said all the right things. But then, when it came time to vote for them again, these politicians, and I wasn't living in Wyoming at the time, they sent flyers to our mailboxes. You know, like little trifolder things, like when you're on vacation and you pick up a brochure, little trifolder thing. And in it, it showed all of the money that they brought in from Washington, D.C. to the local community. And that's the reason that I'm supposed to vote for them, in which case I put those brochures back in envelopes and sent it back to them saying, you just lost my vote because I sent you to Washington, D.C. I voted for you to go to Washington, D.C. to stop this, not to do more of it. 9:15, Wake Up Wyoming.
If it's happening in Wyoming, it's on Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods from K2 Radio. Join the conversation at 888-97-WOODS.
9:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to Glen Rock, Wyoming. Steve is waiting by about the light item veto. Hello, Steve.
Yeah, hi. I listen to your show every day just about because my job takes me all over the state, and I have that opportunity. So you've said a lot of interesting things that caught my attention, and one of them was when Congress passes a bill, used to be, I guess it's still going on, I don't know, they had the option of a line item veto. I guess it's the president controlled?
No, the president,
right?
Now the governor of Wyoming has a line item veto, but the president does not. And the Supreme Court actually ruled that as an unconstitutional thing. However, something a president will do from time to time, since he's in control of the bureaucracy, he can choose not to fully fund something. That's about the best he has. But no, our president does not have a line item veto.
Wow, seems to me that ought to be a constitutional thing.
Yes.
And that way maybe the bills would get moved through a little bit quicker, you know?
Right. There are times that, and this is something that's a big pet peeve of mine, something has been passed, a president signed it into law, so the next president chooses just not to enforce it, which he should get in major trouble for. But plenty of times presidents just don't enforce something, and they get away with it for some reason.
Oh, a lot of corruption going on.
In government? No. All right. Well, thanks for being out there listening, Steve. Where are you driving all over the place to?
I work for YDOT, and I go from microwave site to microwave site, and it keeps me on the road quite a bit.
And all of your food cooked?
Pretty much.
Yeah, not that kind of microwave, I know. All right. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate the call. So, yeah, Steve in Glen Rock, which, by the way, I like Glen Rock. Nice little community out there. There's a lot of there are many little communities where Not to be confused with Glendo. This is Glen Rock. But there's a lot of little communities out there that if you drive by them on the highway, you might look at it and think, yeah. I did that with Wheatland for a while. I would drive by Wheatland and go, because from the highway it doesn't look like much. Go into Wheatland. Specifically head toward the east side over by the river into their downtown area. It's a nice little town. And Glen Rock is one of those, you don't even see Glen Rock from the highway. You don't. But it's this tiny little town along a river, the Platte River. Not much of a downtown, but it is nice. And what I really like is when you drive through their neighborhoods, really nice neighborhoods. And a lot of history has happened there, too. So, yeah, I like Glen Rock, Wyoming a lot. Quick topic that I have off to the side here. A headline, because you've heard people say that climate change is the biggest threat to our national security and humanity. Here's an argument that I like. The biggest threat to our security is actually climate policy. Story says, in somewhat of an awkward, rambling, weird speech on Tuesday, Foreign Secretary David Lammy, and I love his name is Lammy, rhymes with whammy, set out his vision for restoring our international credibility, United Nations, stuff like that, by putting the climate and nature crisis head on. This issue has been on the agenda for every meeting for decades, really, and they never get anything done about it, thank God. Well, as he went on about this, if you listen to the speech, you begin to realize, let's take the United States. Let's get away from the UN for a bit and take a look at the United States as an example of this. One threat to national security here in the United States is that our military is not just going woke, but they want to fight a green war with all electric vehicles and et cetera, et cetera. Then there's our national grid, trying to make electricity that is not clean or green or sustainable or reliable or affordable through wind and solar. And especially not reliable in the sense that it's intermittent. But, yeah, it's a horrible transition they're trying to do, which threatens our national security and even threatens our grid. I mean, it goes on and on like this. And, of course, a budget crisis because of it. All of this threatens a lot of things in our country, including our national security, is threatened by not having energy on demand, being able to access it whenever we need it. It's a threat to people's lives, for sure, especially in the heat of summer and in the dead cold of winter. It can really be a threat to people's lives. But what about when, and it will happen again, at some point we go back to war again. And as we go back to war again, we have vehicles that are supposed to be running on something that is a lot less reliable than on good old petroleum products, for example. This directly affects our national security and our budget as well, as we run out of money for things, which is also a national security threat. So the whole argument that the biggest threat to our national security and humanity is climate change. And my answer is, no, I don't think it is. I think the biggest threat to all of it is those who want to fight climate change. The way that they're doing has really threatened all of our lives. But let's take a look at third world countries that are trying to dig themselves out of a hole and go someplace better so that people can live to a decent age like we do, long, happy, healthy lives. But, of course, here comes the cult of climate change, not wanting these people to be able to access energy the way we do through natural gas and coal and nuclear and things like that. So it is a threat to the lives and national security of those smaller countries as well. 9:42 is the time. Wake up.
He's talking to himself in a padded room, and you could be the voice in his head. Join the conversation on Wake Up Wyoming, 866-97-WOODS.
9:48 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go on the road to now. I have to read this exactly the way Miss Mary wrote it. I am talking to Frankenbeans about sports ball.
Yes.
Okay. See, that's speaking my language. I understand that, Frank. I do. Where'd you get off to anyway?
I'm over by Hell's Half Acre. You know, every time I pull over to talk to you, I lose track position.
Oh. Why? Wait.
The people that I passed now passed me.
Oh, and you got to catch up with them again.
And I got to go past them again.
Okay. Now, there was a time, this was a big mistake, and I learned this lesson when I first got to Wyoming. I was leaving Cheyenne. I was driving north. I'm on Interstate 25. And there is a big tractor trailer in front of me hauling a wind turbine blade. And I fought like crazy to get around them. It was quite a task, and I finally did it. And then, after a few miles, I had to pee. So I pulled over in Glendo. Was it Glendo? No. One of those towns up there anyway. And I pulled over to do that, and then when I got done, I get back out on the highway. Oh, it was Wheatland that I pulled into. And as soon as I come up on the ramp, who am I behind? Immediately.
The wind turbine,
yes, it's exactly right. So, in other words, you're racing to go where you got to go. In this kind of a phone call that you have with me is not like some NASCAR stop or Formula One.
Yes, it is. I'm trying to get gas and tires and talk to you and get back on the road and get back my track position.
Yeah, if this were a real race, like you're talking Formula One, you would have been in and out of there in like a half a second. Have you seen how fast they change those tires?
It's like 8 seconds, 7 seconds.
Yes, and that's if they're having a bad day and haven't had their coffee.
Yes.
It's amazing how they do that kind of stuff. So I want that kind of service from now on when I pull into, but here's the problem, Frank. When I pull into a service station to get gas, the guy who's filling my tank and cleaning my windshield is a slowpoke.
Right, and they don't even exist anymore.
No, the slowpoke is me, Frank.
Okay. Gotcha,
if that jerk would just speed up, I'd get out of there a lot faster.
All right.
So where are you going anyway?
I'm going to Lander for a high school cross-country meet.
Oh, okay. Now, when he says cross-country, Frank will sit there watching everybody else running around doing cross-country. But what would be the answer, Frank, if somebody asked you to run?
I couldn't even ride that long on my bike.
Yeah, right, yeah. So do you keep up with them in the golf cart? How do you do this?
No, I find a place that they're going to pass me twice.
Oh. And then you just sit there. Okay, go with sports.
All right, high school volleyball tonight in Casper. Natrona will host Evanston. Kelly Walsh will host Riverton in the 4A standings. Laramie is 13-0. Kelly Walsh 12-2. Cheyenne East 9-6. Then Natrona 6-7. Cheyenne Central 5-8, and Cheyenne South 2-13. All 5 of those teams will be in the Casper Invite at the Ford Center on Friday and Saturday. Our latest Wyopreps High School volleyball poll is out in 4A. Laramie still number 1. Kelly Walsh 2. Thunder Basin 3. Green River 4, and Sheridan 5. Over in 3A, Douglas is rated number 1, followed by Cody, Wheatland, Paula, Mountain View. Bighorn leads the 2A ranks with Tongue River 2nd, Pine Bluffs 3rd, Wright 4th, and Sundance 5th. And in 1A, Little Snake River ranked 1st, followed by Cokeville, Southeast, Riverside, and Encampment. Wyoming Cowboy football team needs to do some soul searching as they head into Saturday night's game against North Texas in Denton. Cowboys have a multitude of issues that they got to correct after an 0-3 start, and they have not looked very good. That's obvious. Better execution on offense is obvious. At all positions, it's obvious. And the team needs to be more Cowboy tough and hit people hard all game long. North Texas from the American Athletic Conference was boat raced by Texas Tech last week, 66-21. Tech scored 35 points in the second quarter. North Texas quarterback Chandler Morris threw 3 interceptions, and the Mean Green has been beset by injuries, just like Wyoming has. Cowboys are 9-point underdogs, and a win will certainly appease the UW fan base for now. 5 p.m. start from Denton. We'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KOWB in Laramie. And in the National Football League, the Denver Broncos have exhibited some bad offensive play on their way to a 0-2 start. They'll be at Tampa Bay on Sunday. Broncos rookie quarterback Bo Nix is rated 31st out of 32nd with the NFL starting quarterbacks. He's thrown 4 picks and no touchdown passes. So who knows how short his leash will be. The Broncos are 6.5-point underdogs. That is a big, big spread in the National Football League. Game time on Sunday will be at 11 a.m. State High School golf tournaments tomorrow and Saturday. The 4A tournament will be in Star Valley, 3A in Rawlins, 2A in Sheridan. The 4A regional tennis tournaments are upon us. The 4A North and Casper will conclude today. The 4A South will begin in Green River tomorrow. And the State High School tennis tournament will be in Gillette starting a week from today.
So when you drive to Lander, I guess you go through Shoshone and down, right?
Yeah, yep,
okay.
Exactly, yes.
Although when I'd like to take the scenic route, I like to go the other way, and I head on.
Right, you head towards Rawlins, yeah, and then come that way. You can do that, yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful. I love heading past, Independence Rock, and then, of course, get to see the big what do they call that? Split Rock. You know, which, and then Jeffrey City, you know, go by there.
Yeah, Jeffrey City, of course, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big stop for me because I always have to stop by that place that sells the pottery and talk to that guy who's really strange, which is why I like him. And we have listeners in Jeffrey City, by the way, Frank.
Oh, we do?
We do, yes. There's 2 people.
I didn't even know anybody lived there.
People live there. There's like maybe 5 people left, and 2 of them listen to the show.
There you go.
All right.
We have a big audience.
Okay,
Yay.
Go catch up to everybody, Frank. Get on the road. Go.
All right.
So, no, there are people living in Jeffrey City, Wyoming, believe it or not. And also Bill, Wyoming, which has about the same population size as Jeffrey City. And they listen to me, too. My ratings in Bill are huge. I mean, Bill from Bill listens, for that matter. It's Wake Up Wyoming.